What I'm about to share with you today is something that completely transformed the way I manage my blood sugar. And it did so in a way that genuinely surprised me because I had tried so many different approaches with very little success. For years, I was convinced that improving diabetes control required eliminating more foods, cutting carbs down to almost nothing, or becoming stricter and stricter with every meal. The harder I tried, the more it felt like a battle. But what if I told you that one small shift in how you eat, without starving yourself, without eliminating your favorite meals, and without obsessively counting or tracking, could create a dramatically different blood sugar response in just a few days? Before we continue, I'd like to tell you about Diacelan, a powerful blend of 13 natural ingredients, each carefully selected for their proven ability to support healthy blood sugar levels, enhance insulin sensitivity, and promote overall wellness. You can read more on diacelan.com. This is the carb hack that opened my eyes and changed the way I think about food. And no, it's not a supplement, not a fad diet, not a complicated routine, and definitely not something extreme. It's a simple science-backed adjustment that aligns with how your body naturally processes food. Whether you're managing type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, or even just struggling with energy crashes after meals, this is something you can apply immediately. By the time I finish explaining this, you'll understand not only what the hack is and why it works, but also how the first 4 days unfolded for me, what changes I felt physically and mentally, and how you can use this approach without feeling restricted or overwhelmed. For years, my biggest challenge with diabetes wasn't discipline. It was confusion, frustration, and conflicting advice. One expert insisted carbs were the enemy and should be cut to the bare minimum. Another said carbs were okay if they were whole grains. Someone else claimed timing was everything, and then another insisted calories were the only thing that mattered. And while I tried taking pieces from each approach, my blood sugar still bounced all over the place as if it had a mind of its own. I would eat what I thought was a heart-healthy meal, maybe oatmeal with berries or some fruit, and suddenly my glucose would spike higher than expected. But then, when I avoided carbs entirely, I felt drained, irritable, unfocused, and constantly hungry, which made consistency impossible. It didn't feel sustainable or enjoyable, and deep down I knew there had to be a middle ground. I just didn't know what it was. The breakthrough came when I learned that the order in which I ate my food mattered more than I ever realized. Not the ingredients, not the calories, not the macros, just the sequence. Changing the order of foods within a meal sounded almost too simple to be real. But once I understood the science behind it and saw the effect it had on my own glucose numbers, it became clear that this was the missing piece I had been searching for. Here's the carb hack. Instead of eating your meal in the typical order, carbs first or carbs mixed in, start every meal by eating fiber-rich vegetables first, then protein and healthy fats second, and save your carbohydrates and sweets for last. That's it. This sequence slows down digestion and changes how quickly glucose enters your bloodstream. When you eat carbs first, especially refined carbs like bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, or anything sugary, they break down rapidly and flood your system, creating a sharp spike. Your pancreas has to react aggressively, releasing a surge of insulin. If you have insulin resistance, this process becomes even more inefficient, leading to higher spikes and deeper crashes. But when you lead with fiber, protein, and fats, they act like a natural buffer. Fiber slows digestion and creates a gel-like barrier in the intestines. Protein helps modulate metabolic responses. Healthy fats delay gastric emptying, so when you finally reach your carbs, they digest much more slowly and gently. The exact same plate of food that once caused a big spike can now generate a smaller, more controlled rise, simply because of the order in which you ate it. And what's powerful about this is that you don't have to eliminate foods. You simply rearrange the way you enjoy them. At first, I didn't believe such a small adjustment could do anything noticeable. I thought the difference would be too tiny to matter. But curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to try it for just one meal. On that first day, I made a grilled chicken plate with a side salad and a serving of rice, something I had eaten dozens of times before. Normally, that amount of rice pushed my glucose into the 100s and 80s, or even higher. But this time, I ate the salad first, then the chicken, and saved the rice for the end. When I checked my glucose an hour later, the spike was nearly 40 points lower than what I usually got from that exact same meal. Seeing that number shocked me. It was one of those moments when you realize that your body isn't broken. It just needed foods presented in a better order. And that's when I realized this wasn't some theoretical trick. It was something that delivered real measurable results. Over the next 2 to 3 days, the benefits grew even more noticeable. I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Steady, consistent energy throughout the day. That jittery, anxious crash after eating, gone. That shaky feeling 2 hours after a meal, gone. The constant hunger, especially those late-night cravings that used to feel impossible to control, began to fade. And when you think about it, it makes sense. Most cravings are directly linked to rapid swings in blood sugar. If your glucose stays steadier, your hunger signals and cravings naturally calm down. By day 4, the biggest surprise came when I checked my fasting glucose in the morning. For months, it had been stubbornly higher than I wanted. But after just 4 days of eating in this new order, the number had dropped significantly, around 20 points lower, without any changes in portion sizes, medication, or exercise. Just the order. That alone showed me how powerful this simple technique could be. Another unexpected benefit was how much calmer my digestion felt. Eating fiber first supports gut health and slows gastric emptying in a gentle, natural way. This means less bloating, fewer digestive discomforts, smoother bathroom habits, and a more stable appetite throughout the day. I also noticed that applying the carb last rule in the evening helped prevent those frustrating nighttime glucose spikes that can interfere with sleep. The meals that used to make my glucose climb late at night suddenly felt much more controlled. I wasn't waking up thirsty, restless, or sluggish from an overnight high. It was the first time I felt like my meals were working with my body instead of against it. One of the most empowering things about this hack is that it doesn't require you to give up the foods you love. I still ate rice, potatoes, pasta, bread, and even desserts. I just approached them differently. I stopped letting carbs be the star of the meal and instead made them the finishing touch. This simple shift removed the fear and guilt around eating carbs. Instead of avoiding them, I learned how to enjoy them without causing unnecessary spikes. And what I appreciate most is that this isn't a trick or loophole. It's a way of working with human physiology. When people hear carb hack, they sometimes imagine a magical formula or a special replacement food. But this hack is grounded in how digestion naturally works. It's logical, sustainable, and surprisingly easy to maintain. What makes this even better is that it fits seamlessly into any eating style. You can be vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, keto, paleo, Mediterranean, or anything else. You can still apply it. If you love rice bowls, start with vegetables and protein. If you enjoy fruit, treat it like dessert and have it after a meal. If you like sandwiches, eat the veggies or a small piece of protein first. You don't have to measure anything, you don't need perfection, and you don't need to memorize macros. Even when you don't follow the rule perfectly, your body still benefits when you do follow it. It's flexible, gentle, and doesn't require a rigid lifestyle. This strategy also applies to snacks. If you're craving something sweet, pairing it with protein or fiber changes the way your body processes it. Fruit with nuts, chocolate after a meal instead of on an empty stomach, or pairing something sweet with yogurt instead of eating it alone can dramatically soften the glucose impact. Many of us grew up thinking a small carb-only snack was healthy, but for someone with blood sugar issues, carbs alone create a roller coaster effect. Simply adding protein or fiber transforms the snack from a spike-inducing treat into something far easier for your body to handle. The coolest thing is that scientific research supports this food ordering method. Studies show that eating vegetables or protein before carbs can reduce glucose spikes by up to 30 to 70%, depending on the meal, the carb type, and your metabolism. Think of it like placing a speed bump in front of a rushing car. Instead of glucose hitting your bloodstream quickly and aggressively, it slows down to a more controlled pace. Your pancreas feels less pressure, your insulin response becomes smoother, and your cells receive glucose at a rate they can actually manage. Over time, this steadier pattern can help support better metabolic balance. When your blood sugar swings less violently, your energy becomes more predictable, your cravings ease up, and your mood becomes more stable. Another surprising benefit was how this hack changed my relationship with food. Instead of seeing eating as a minefield of things that could go wrong, I began to feel more in control. Food no longer felt like an enemy I had to protect myself from. Eating in a specific order encourages you to slow down naturally because you're thinking more intentionally about each part of the meal. Slowing down gives your brain time to register fullness signals, which can actually reduce overeating without you having to force it. Over time, meals become more satisfying, more enjoyable, and less stressful because they don't come with the fear of unpredictable spikes afterward. Here's what a typical carb hack meal looks like for me. If I'm having chicken, broccoli, and mashed potatoes, I simply eat the broccoli first, then the chicken, and save the mashed potatoes for last. That little sequence is all it takes to create a different blood sugar response. If I'm eating pasta, I'll start with a salad or some sautéed veggies and make sure the meal includes protein. If I'm having a sandwich, I'll eat a bit of the filling, like turkey or veggies, before digging into the bread. Even if the meal is something like tacos or sushi, I'll take a few bites of vegetables or protein first. It doesn't have to be complicated or rigid. It's about creating a buffer that lets your body handle the carbs more smoothly. By the end of the first 4 days, the difference was undeniable because the shifts were noticeable not only on the glucose meter, but also in the way my body felt hour by hour. My glucose readings were steadier throughout the day, meaning the numbers didn't swing up and down the way they used to after meals, which helped my days feel much more predictable. My energy felt more grounded and consistent, as if someone had finally turned off the internal roller coaster that used to leave me wired 1 minute and sluggish the next. I wasn't dealing with those intense crashes that used to sabotage my productivity. Those moments when my focus would suddenly disappear, my hands felt shaky, and I had to stop what I was doing just to recover. My sleep improved because I wasn't fighting nighttime highs anymore, and that alone made a huge difference. Instead of waking up feeling groggy or thirsty, I started waking up clearer and more refreshed. My cravings diminished without effort, especially those late-night urges that always felt impossible to resist, likely because my body wasn't trapped in a cycle of spikes followed by sudden drops. And emotionally, I felt lighter, more confident, more relaxed, and more in control of my daily habits because it finally felt like my choices were working with my body instead of against it. Healthy habits stop feeling like a battle, and they start becoming something you naturally want to follow rather than something you have to force. So the carb hack that dramatically improved my blood sugar in just a few days is simple. Eat fiber first, protein and fats second, and carbohydrates last. It's a gentle, sustainable, and surprisingly effective way to support more stable glucose without giving up foods, without strict rules, and without feeling deprived. It doesn't replace professional guidance, medication, or personalized advice, but it's a helpful tool that can complement whatever approach you're already using. If you try this for a few days, especially if you track your glucose, you will likely see the difference yourself. And once you see those changes, it becomes incredibly easy to stick with because you'll feel the benefits in both your body and your mind.